Progressive Congress has extended the tenure of the National Working Committee (NWC) of the party. The extension was approved by the National Executive Committee of the party at the meeting in Abuja. The NWC is the executive arm of the party responsible for the day-to-day operation. It's headed by the national chairman John Odigo Oyegun and with the tenure scheduled to end this year, having been elected in 2014. The Kogi State Governor Yaya Bello briefed journalists midway into the NEC meeting. He said the NEC decision was based on Article 13 of the party, which gives it such power. He said the state executive of the party in various states also benefit from the one-year extension. The extension essentially means that Oyegun leadership will lead the APC into the 2019 general election. The Forum APC state chairmen are during their meeting on Monday ahead of the next meeting unanimously resolved to propose a one-year tenure extension for the Oyegun-led NWC and other constituent organs of the party at the state, local and ward level.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, says it still maintains ground on its decision to hold the 2019 presidential and National Assembly elections on the same day, while the governorship and state legislative elections will come next. Chairman of INEC, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, made this known at the Quality Consultative meeting with the media in Abuja. INEC had announced last year that the President and National Assembly elections would hold on February 16, 2019, while the governorship, state assembly, and area council election in the Federal Capital Territory will take place on March 2, 2019. The National Assembly, however, opposed the sequence of the election and amended the Electoral Act such that the National Assembly election would hold first, while the presidential election would come last. The bill has since been transmitted to President Muhammadu Buhari for assent. On this, the INEC boss said,
"As it is at the moment, the only law that exists is the Electoral Act 2010 as amended, and the Constitution of Nigeria 1999 as amended. We released the timetable and schedule of elections on the basis of the law as it exists, and that is the position of the Commission going forward. Secondly, we are also aware of proposed alteration of the Constitution. And the proposed alteration has bearing on two issues as far as INEC is concerned. Number one is the proposal on the conduct of local government elections by INEC. The proposed alterations are going through the processes of concurrence by the states of the Federation, the required number of states. And secondly, there is the issue of independent candidacy, which is also one of the proposals in the 15-point alteration of the Constitution submitted by the National Assembly to the states.
The Commission noted that all is now set to conduct a free, fair, and credible election come 2019. In Abuja, LM Chukwamaka reports.
President Muhammadu Buhari says every life in Nigeria is equally precious and indispensable, assuring that the federal government will carefully explore means that will guarantee the safe return of all those abducted by insurgents in any part of the country. President Buhari, who stated this while receiving 3 lecturers and 9 women that were released by ISIS and Boko Haram, respectively, at the Presidential Villa Abuja, said the ongoing negotiation for the release of more abducted Nigerians will be given utmost attention and care with priority on safety.
This administration has been unrelenting in ensuring your rescue and freedom from your captors several months ago. I can assure you that apart from your family members, every peace-loving Nigerian prayed for your safety and wished for your early release from the hold of your abductors. Your rescue on the 10th of February this year was a very huge relief to me personally, as well as to all Nigerians. Let me say that this government treasures all the human life, particularly that of its citizens, and following your abductions, the security agencies were directed by me to do everything humanly possible to ensure the safe release of every one of you and other persons under hold of the insurgents.
President Buhari, while commending all the various security agencies, government agencies, and international organizations for their professionalism throughout the rescue process, promised that the government will work closely with them for rehabilitation and resettlement of all displaced persons. He also used the medium to direct all the security agencies to take more measures in protecting schools and students, expressing sadness that some students were abducted from Government Girls Science and Technical College, Dapchi, Yobe State.
The groups responsible for the abduction were not only different, but based in different locations that, if not properly handled, could result in dire consequences. While thanking the security agencies and all those who facilitated this, let me clearly reiterate the resolve of this administration to ensure all persons abducted by the insurgents are rescued or released safely. This is especially against the backdrop of the recent sad incident where another group of girls were abducted on the 19th instant from Government Girls Science and Technical College, Dapchi, Yobe State. I have since directed all security agencies to immediately ensure that every effort is directed to ensure the safety of our schools and students, as well as bringing back the abducted girls to their families.
In his remarks, the Director General of the Department of State Security, Lawa Musa Daura, said negotiations for the release of more adopted Nigerians were already on, with consideration for the cessation of all hostilities and amnesty for the insurgents who choose to embrace it.
Mr. President, I humbly and respectfully present before you today the released 3 University of Maiduguri lecturers abducted by ISIS West Africa insurgents on the 25th of July 2017 around Magumeri in Borno State on their return from NNPC exploration site in the Lake Chad Basin. Mr. President, the search or negotiation for the rescued victims commenced in earnest following your directives to the effect that all abducted persons must be found and rescued alive. However, we chose the path of negotiation because it was considered as the safest, because any forceful attempt to rescue the victims could endanger their lives.
One of those released by the abductors, Dr. Solomon Yusuf, a lecturer, said they were impressed with the government's intervention throughout the process.
While we were in captivity, we did a lot of analysis and we said, with 180 or more Nigerians, will Nigeria ever come to rescue us? And we lost hope. Sir, you surprised us. After 7 months for us from the university and 8 months for the 10 ladies from Lassa, Nigeria rescued us. This shows that the life of every Nigerian is important and is worth rescuing. Sir, we are grateful. You gave us hope when there was no hope, and we're excited. We thank you, sir.
The freed adoptees are currently going through a series of medical and psychological treatment to reintegrate them into the society. From the Presidential Villa, Abuja, I am Festus Ejiroge Nefifen for Ben Television.
lovely place, right?
Yes.
What's wrong? You don't look happy.
Take a look around. Why can't my hotel be like this?
I knew something was wrong, but I've got solution.
Solution? What?
Nanet.
Nanet?
Nanet offers you design solutions, building plans and construction, furnishing and equipping, financing, management, audit services, and many more services for a better hospitality business. Nanet, service with a smile.
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has taken an optimistic look at the poor rating of Nigeria on recent released Transparency International Corruption Perception Index 2017. He said in Abuja that the rating was not a setback for Nigeria, but an encouragement for the country to work harder and close its ranks. The Transparency International report released on February 21st scored Nigeria 27% and ranked it 148 out of 180 countries assessed. The organization said Nigeria's latest result was worse than that of 2016, wherein the country was ranked 136 with a score of 28%. In 2017 ranking, Nigeria shared 148 spot with Comoros and Guinea. But the vice president said Nigeria's decline rating on Transparency International was because the country scores slump on just one spot out of the 9 international recognized index used by the organization. He said while the index scored Nigeria low on the Economic Intelligence Unit Control Risk Service with the deadline from 39 points to 29 points, the country either retained stable or improved on its score for all other 8 indices used by the CPI ranking. Osinbajo said this at a one-day dialogue of organs of government on reform of justice sector campaign against corruption, which held at the banquet hall of the Presidential Villa, Abuja.
Joint Admission and Matriculation Board (JAMB) has requested parents of candidates sitting for the 2018 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination to keep off from computer-based examination centers. JAMB Registrar Professor Isaac Olede, who made this known in Abuja while monitoring the mock UTME at the Kogo and Veritas University CBT centers, noted that some parents had formed the habit of hanging around the centers to engage in examination malpractice.
We urge the parents to keep away. You can see around here, there are parents. And I ask myself, do they have some other things to do? You are not in a kindergarten school. We are preparing people for university education. And the parents come too much around. They want their children, their wards to pass at all costs. It's not helpful because these candidates, will you follow them to the classroom? Lecturers and others will start taking undue advantage of them because they are not mature, because they are not prepared for the task. I think parents should take care and allow the children to grow.
JAMB also urged the candidates to avoid any form of malpractice or shortcut to passing the examination.
The candidates, as some of them are getting cleverer, we are getting wiser. Anybody who complains of logout, we have done everything that there is no logout. But when a student sees that the questions are difficult, he plays some pranks, removes some wire, then there is problems, you start running up. We are monitoring every system now. And when we discover that it's at your instance, then you carry your cross. We are not going to do any mop-up. They are not going to give any second chance to anybody. And the CBT centers too, particularly the private CBT centers, we have also discovered that because we pay when you put 250 candidates in a hall, maybe 40 of them are logged out, you pay for the logout, then you now rearrange them and pay for the next period. We have said no. We are going to pay only for successful candidates.
In Abuja, LM Chukwamika reports.
The lack of internal party democracy is one of the most important challenges facing Nigerian democracy. Since 1999, when the country changed from military rule to democratic rule, political parties are perceived to be governed by a select few, often referred to as godfathers, who decide who gets what and influence the operations of party structure. The challenge of internal party democracy manifests in the decision-making processes within the party structure, candidate selection processes, party primaries, and inclusion of youth, women, and persons living with disabilities. This failure to democratize has not only weakened the party structure and its ability to institutionalize, but is also partly responsible for the proliferation of political parties in the country. In the lead-up to the 2019 general elections, there has been lots of discontent in the polity about political parties and the option they represent to voters. It is in line of this that the Center for Democracy and Development, CDD West Africa, a civil society organization, brings together the major political parties in the country to discuss ahead of the 2019 elections on what parties had to offer to the citizens. Director CDD Idayat Hassan said this was imperative as it will look at all the processes of the political parties so that Nigerians can know how parties run and how inclusive they are.
The idea is to start a discussion ahead of the 2019 elections and not just putting the discussion on what the parties are offering to the masses, but giving them the opportunity to know how the party run. Because this is very, very imperative. We cannot even have the delivery of public goods and services if we do not have institutionalized political party system. So it takes a party to have internal democracy before it can even work towards delivering development to the people. And that is the reason why CDD has put up this event ahead of the 2019 general elections, so that we will be looking at all their processes. Nigerians will know how parties run, how inclusive they are, how democratic in the real sense they are as well.
Ms. Hassan, as well as other participants, maintain that political parties must be transparent.
I think as a Nigerian, I think it tells us how the party is actually run, because if you ask me what they do in CDD, obviously I should be able to answer how CDD is run. So there is no big, there is no small organization or entity. It is about processes. So when you have well-defined processes in place in parties, you wouldn't find it very difficult to be truthful and open to the citizens whom you claim to represent. And as we all know, till this date and the way it is actually looking, in the 2019 elections, we are not going to have independent candidates. We will still have to deal with the political party system.
We have not made progress in terms of the nature and character of political parties. And yet, by our constitution, the only way you can represent people is by being a member of a political party and being a candidate of a political party. So it's a major gap, really.
There is still a lot to be done with internal democracy. And I think from the public response, they still have to address that. The process of bringing out elections, there seems to be some disagreements. And part of the things that is affecting that democracy is the level of contributions or control of the political parties by some so-called bigwigs, which I think that should be allowed, other people should be allowed to have a say in the process. As we could see from the other lady's revelation, a lot needs to be done to throw it up in the open for people, particularly making the processes of registering it for membership accessible. There are no zonal offices that you can access on the net, and I think in this age that should be a priority for the political parties if they want to have as many votes as they can.
The panelists, drawn from the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, the All Progressive Congress, People's Democratic Party, and COA Party, describe as a major setback the lack of internal democracy among political parties. The Nigerian Political Parties Discussion Series seeks to promote healthy debate among leaders of political parties on national development issues ahead of the 2019 general elections. The theme for this edition of NPPDS is Internal Party Democracy, who fares better among political parties in Nigeria. Awesome Raffle, Ben Television.
The federal government has set up a 12-member committee to unravel the circumstances surrounding the adoption of 110 students of the government's Girls Science and Technology College, Dapchi, Yobe State. Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, disclosed this in a statement in Abuja. He said the committee, which will be chaired by the military officer of the rank of Major General, comprised one senior provost, each of the Nigerian Army, Nigerian Navy, and Nigerian Air Force. He said other members of the committee include representatives of the National Intelligence Agency, Defense Intelligence Agency, Nigerian Police, Department of State Service, and Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps. The minister said the committee also includes 2 representatives of the Yobe State government and representatives of the Office of the National Security Advisor. He said the terms of the reference of the committee include ascertaining the circumstances surrounding the adoption of the girls. The minister said the committee will suggest measures that could lead to the location and rescue of the girls and recommended measures to prevent the future occurrences.